One word, just one. And for 2,700 years, it's divided scholars, theologians, and historians. Not a sentence, not a chapter, one single word. And depending on how you translate it, everything changes. This is the mystery of Isaiah 7 verse 14. And before this video's over, you'll understand why this ancient debate still matters today. You've probably never heard of it. Most people haven't. But this verse, buried deep in the Old Testament, has sparked more debate than almost any other line in Scripture. It's been argued over in universities, discussed in seminaries, fought over in theological debates for centuries. And it all comes down to translation. Here's what the verse says. Simplified, the young woman shall conceive and bear a son. Sounds simple, right? Straightforward. But here's the thing. The entire meaning, the entire theological weight of this prophecy hinges on one Hebrew word, and nobody can agree what it means. Some say it means young woman. Others insist it means virgin. And that difference, it changes everything. So let's go back, way back, to the year 735 BC, the ancient Near East, a world of kings, empires, and constant war. The kingdom of Judah, the southern kingdom of the divided Israelite nation, is in serious trouble. The king's name is Ahaz. He's young, inexperienced, and frankly, terrified because two powerful armies are marching toward his capital. The kingdom of Israel to the north, his own brothers, technically, has allied with Syria, and together, they're coming for Jerusalem. It's called the Syro-Ephraimite War, and King Ahaz is panicking. He's looking for help, allies, anyone who can save him. He's even considering making a dangerous alliance with Assyria, a brutal empire that could crush Judah just as easily as protect it. It's a political nightmare. And into this chaos walks the prophet Isaiah. Now, Isaiah isn't just any prophet. He's bold, uncompromising, direct, and he has a message from God for King Ahaz. It goes something like this. Calm down. Don't be afraid. These two kings threatening you, they're nothing. Their plans will fail. But Ahaz is skeptical. So God, through Isaiah, offers him a sign. Ask for a sign, Isaiah says. Anything, as deep as Sheol or as high as heaven. But Ahaz refuses. Maybe out of false humility. Maybe out of stubbornness. Either way, Isaiah responds. Fascinate. The Lord himself will give you a sign. And then, he says it. Isaiah 7 verse 14. Behold, the Almah shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Emmanuel, it means God with us. A powerful name, a reassuring message. But the key to understanding this prophecy, it's that word, Almah. So what does Almah mean? Let's start with the basics. In Hebrew, there are several words that refer to women at different life stages. There's Isha, a married woman or wife. There's Naira, a young girl. There's Betula, which specifically means a virgin. And then there's Almah. Almah appears only 7 times in the entire Hebrew Bible. And in every other instance, it refers to a young woman of marriageable age. Sometimes she's unmarried. Sometimes the text doesn't specify. But the word itself doesn't explicitly mean virgin. It just means young woman. For example, in Genesis 24, Rebecca is called an Almah before she's married. In Exodus 2, Moses' sister Miriam is called an Almah. In Proverbs 30, the writer mentions the way of a man with an Almah. In none of these cases does the word carry an explicit meaning of virginity. It's just a young woman. So here's the question. If Isaiah wanted to say virgin, clearly and unambiguously, why didn't he use the word Betula? That's the word that specifically means virgin in Hebrew. But he didn't use it. He used Almah. And that's where interpretation number 1 begins. Interpretation number 1, Interpretation number 2, virgin. Here's where the story takes a major turn. Colon 14. They make a choice. They translate the Hebrew word Almah into the Greek word Parthenos. And here's the thing about Parthenos. It can mean young woman in some contexts, but most of the time, it means virgin. That's its primary meaning. So the Septuagint version of Isaiah 7 verse 14 reads, "Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear son." Virgin, not just young woman. Virgin. Now, why did they choose Parthenos? We don't know for sure. Maybe they believed Almah implied virginity. Maybe they were influenced by the cultural context of their time. Maybe they saw a deeper meaning in the text. We can only speculate. But the result? This Greek translation became the standard version of the Hebrew Bible for Greek-speaking Jews, and eventually for early Christians. Because here's what happens next. Fast forward another 250 years. We're now in the 1st century AD. A Jewish man named Matthew Matthew, and for Christians ever since. This verse isn't just about King Ahaz. And he has a message from God for King Ahaz. It goes something like this. Calm down. Don't be afraid. These two kings threatening you, they're nothing. Their plans will fail. But Ahaz is skeptical. So God, through Isaiah, offers him a sign. Ask for a sign, Isaiah says. Anything, as deep as Sheol or as high as heaven. But Ahaz refuses, maybe out of false humility, maybe out of stubbornness. Either way, Isaiah responds, "Fascinate. The Lord himself will give you a sign." And then, he says it. Isaiah 7 verse 14. "Behold, the Almah shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel." Emmanuel, it means God with us. A powerful name, a reassuring message. But two, Moses' sister Miriam is called an Almah. In Proverbs 30, the writer mentions the way of a man with an Almah. In none of these cases does the word carry an explicit meaning of virginity. It's just a young woman. So here's the question. If Isaiah wanted to say virgin, clearly and unambiguously, why didn't he use the word Betula? That's the word that specifically means virgin in Hebrew. But he didn't use it. He used Almah. And that's where interpretation number 1 begins. Interpretation number 1, young woman. It was never about a virgin birth. Christian scholars generally hold to the second. Almah, understood through the Septuagint as Parthenos, means virgin. The prophecy points to Jesus. It's messianic, and neither side is budging. So who's right? Well, that depends on your perspective. If you're reading Isaiah in its original historical and linguistic context, Almah almost certainly just means young woman. The prophecy was a sign for Ahaz, given in a time of crisis, fulfilled within a few years. That's what the text says in Hebrew. That's what the historical context supports. But if you're reading the text through the lens of the Septuagint and Christian theology, Almah, translated as virgin, becomes a prophetic sign pointing to the Messiah. A deeper meaning revealed over time. A prophecy with layers. Both readings exist. Both have been held by millions of people across centuries. And both continue to shape how we understand this ancient text. Now here's what's really interesting. This debate isn't just theological. It's linguistic. It's cultural. It's about translation. And translation is never neutral. Every translator makes choices. Choices based on language, yes, but also based on tradition, theology, and interpretation. Let me show you what I mean. Pick up a modern Bible. Any translation. Look at Isaiah 7 verse 14. The King James Version, published in 1611, says, "Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son." Virgin. The New International Version, one of the most popular modern translations, says, "The virgin will conceive and give birth to a son." Virgin. But the New Revised Standard Version, used in many academic settings, says, "Look, the young woman is with child and shall bear a son." Young woman. The Jewish Publication Society translation, the Standard Jewish Bible in English, says, "Behold, the young woman is with child and about to give birth to a son." Young woman. Same verse. Same original Hebrew. Different English words. Why? Because translators are interpreting. They're making a choice about what Almah means. And that choice reflects their theological tradition. Christian Bibles tend to say virgin. Jewish Bibles tend to say young woman. Not because one is lying, but because they're reading the text through different lenses. And here's the bigger point. This isn't unique to Isaiah 7 verse 14. Translation is always interpretation. When you move from one language to another, you're not just swapping words. You're carrying meaning across cultures, contexts, and time periods. And sometimes meaning shifts. A word that meant one thing in ancient Hebrew might carry different connotations in Greek, or English, or any other language. So when we ask, what does Almah really mean? The answer isn't simple. It means young woman in Hebrew. It was translated as virgin in Greek. And both meanings have shaped how people read this text for over 2 millennia. So why does this still matter? Why are we talking about a single word from 2,700 years ago? Because it teaches us something profound about ancient texts. They're not always black and white. They don't always have one simple, clear meaning. They live in context, historical, linguistic, theological. And when we wrestle with them honestly, when we ask hard questions and look at different perspectives, we realize that the richness of these texts comes from their complexity. Isaiah 7 verse 14 has meant different things to different communities. For ancient Judah, it was a sign of hope in a time of war. For early Christians, it was a prophecy of the Messiah. For modern scholars, it's a fascinating case study in translation and interpretation. All of these readings can coexist. They don't have to cancel each other out. They can enrich our understanding. And maybe that's the real lesson here. Sometimes the most truthful answer isn't a simple yes or no. Sometimes it depends how you read it. Because meaning isn't just in the words themselves. It's in the reader, the translator, the community interpreting the text. And that's not a weakness. That's what makes these ancient writings so enduring, so powerful, so worth studying, even 2,700 years later. One Hebrew word, Almah, young woman or virgin, a sign for King Ahaz, or a prophecy of the Messiah. Scholars are still debating. Translators are still choosing. Communities are still interpreting. And the mystery? It endures. What do you think? Does Almah mean young woman? or virgin? Was this prophecy for Isaiah's time or for Jesus? Or maybe both? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's have a respectful conversation. And if you want more deep dives into ancient mysteries, biblical history, translation debates, and the stories that shaped our world, hit that subscribe button because we're just getting started. Thanks for watching. And remember, sometimes the smallest words carry the biggest questions.